right, we're back with True Spoken, and we are honored to have the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Ohio, Jon Husted, who has been the Lieutenant Governor for the last 40 years. He's also been the Speaker of the House. He's a graduate of the University of Dayton with a master's degree. He has been in the House and in the Senate. So he has had a long and very successful history here in Ohio, and that's fantastic. So I've had the pleasure of knowing the Lieutenant Governor for several years, and goes back to, I think, 2003 or 4 or something like that. So Lieutenant Governor, we're very glad to have you. So my first question is, you've obviously been very successful. Where did your strong conviction for leadership and motivation for succession or to success come from?
Well, it's a great question. How do we know what motivates us, right? And I will tell you that from the earliest age, I was very competitive through sports. I think sports is where I refined my competitive nature, how to succeed, what it takes to invest to be a winner. That you have to have character, you have to have a work ethic, you have to have discipline, you have to have a strategy, you have to be able to work well with others, teamwork, all of those kinds of things. So I would say that came pretty natural to me. I was very blessed. Also had great loving parents, who told me that if you want to do something in life, you work hard and believe in yourself and you can get it done. But that and a lot of wonderful people that I've encountered in my life that helped me become successful. You lay all that together and you just try to get up every morning and do a better job each day. But I think you learn these things in an early age and they build on each other. And sports was probably the place that taught me how to compete and win the most. Sure.
Yeah. And I know you had that background. And you have an interesting background where you first started in life. And many know this, but some don't. You were put up for adoption almost immediately after being born. Is that correct? And
yeah.
And you were adopted by, is it Jim and Judy Husted, I believe?
That's correct.
Montpelier, Ohio. So how did that upbringing influence who you became, your political beliefs and your motivation for hard work? How did that really kind of get you going on those things?
Well, it's if you want to talk about looking back at your life and recognizing how blessed you are, I need not look much past the first couple months of my life, and everything else from there was a blessing. My birth mother had already had 2 boys. I guess they were around 3 and 1.5 years old at the time, and she'd lost her husband somehow in Vietnam, and then found herself pregnant from another man, and he didn't want her to have that baby, which was me. He said he'd take care of her, but he didn't want another mouth to feed. And she made the very brave and wonderful decision for me to have an adoption rather than an abortion. And at that moment, when she made that decision, it was the greatest blessing that could ever happen. It gave me life. I lived in a foster home for around 2 months. And then I was adopted by my mom and dad, Jim and Judy Husted. We grew up in rural Northwest Ohio, outside of Montpelier, Ohio. And, that was just an amazing story for me, amazing blessing in my life. And when I look back on it now, obviously it shapes my views on a lot of issues. Sure. But one of the things, abortion, how important parents are in a child's life. It also gave me an attitude of, I've always been a pretty grateful guy. I wake up every day with an attitude of gratitude, but I think it also made me realize it's just, every day of life is a gift, and you should make the most of the gifts that you receive. And so that was a big part of my life, and they encouraged me. And look, I ended up going from a kid that started out in a foster home to being a college athlete and winning the national championship at the University of Dayton, which was a great thrill in my life. Having 3 wonderful kids, a wonderful wife, opportunity to serve as Speaker of the House, Secretary of State, Lieutenant Governor, and do things for other people. But one of the things that I always take a great deal of satisfaction in doing is every time I can work on a piece of public policy related to adoption, just to try to do in some small way for another child what blessing was given to me. And so, yes, it's very much shaped my life.
That's very inspiring. We've talked a few times in life, and I don't know if you know, we adopted a little boy at 8 months old, and I had 4 girls, and my wife couldn't have any more children. So to put it in football terms, we went out on the waiver wire and we adopted a little boy. And that's been, no, I'm not sure you feel this way, your parents feel this way, not only a blessing for him. I've been asked several times, been told, hey, that's a great thing, but he's been as much a blessing for us. And I'm sure you have.
Gonna say that to you. I said, as much as it's a blessing for the child, the parents and the families, and even the siblings, it's a blessing for them as well. It changes everybody's life for the better.
Absolutely. You're right. And the gift of life. And I know you share the same with a lot of conservative about pro-life. You're very pro-life, and I appreciate that, because you've been very, very strong in adoption and pro-life. And for that, John, we really appreciate you. And you've had a lot of other things. You're talking about your resume, which is amazing, but you're also interested in coaching football. You were instrumental in the Chamber of Commerce at Dayton and really helping take that off. How did you get interested in politics?
Well, it's a fun question. I have a little bit of a fun answer, because I was intending on being a college football coach when I finished playing football at the University of Dayton. I coached there for a year, and in May, I think it was May of, what year? 1992. I went for an interview at the University of Toledo to be a defensive back coach there, and they didn't hire me. And so, I was thinking, what am I going to do? Future. I started getting interested in politics at that time, and I went back and I was volunteering on a congressional campaign. So I got a little bit more involved in that. And then in late July, I get a call from the University of Toledo. It says, hey, the guy we offered the job to, he didn't take it. He went somewhere else. And if you want the job, we need you here on Monday. So that was one of those fork in the road decisions for me. I went down to the campaign. I told them about the opportunity I had. And they said, well, what if we paid you to stay here and manage this campaign? Would you do it? And I thought about it for a little while, and I accepted the offer. And so I was managing a congressional campaign, and I called the University of Toledo and told them I wasn't taking the job, which may have been a bad financial decision for me, because the head coach at the University of Toledo at the time was Nick Saban. And so he was the head coach. Dean Pease, who ended up being a defensive coordinator in the NFL over many Super Bowls, including with the Patriots, he was the defensive coordinator there. So I said no to those guys, didn't take the football route, and ended up in public service. But I don't regret it for a minute. My life in public service has been as rewarding as life could be.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't even mention, the Secretary of State, which was a very successful tenure for you at the Secretary of State's office as the Secretary of State. So kind of leading into that, it comes up to 2017-18. You're thinking about running for governor. You end up running on the DeWine ticket as lieutenant governor. Obviously, you both won. What motivated you to decide to go statewide for the governor's race in 2018?
Well, I enjoyed my time as Secretary of State. I think I was successful at fulfilling the goal of making Ohio a place where it was easy to vote and hard to cheat. Mm-hmm. I had taken on some of the people at the top end of public service I had been sued by Hillary Clinton. I'd been sued by Barack Obama. I had a case that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in Husted versus the Philip A. Randolph Institute, where I was trying to maintain voter rolls, meaning make sure that I followed the law, removing deceased voters, removing people who had moved out of state. I got sued over that. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I won. And so I had a lot of success with that. I had success in cutting taxes and expanding school choice when I was Speaker of the House. And I believe that I could contribute to the things that I cared about the most in the best way by running for governor. And it was a four-way race, as many people might remember. It was a case where when the filing deadline came, that I was approached by Governor DeWine or then Attorney General DeWine about teaming up and really trying to lead the state. And I decided that for the sake of the Republican Party, that we didn't need a bloody four-way primary battle, that we needed to make sure in what was shaping up to be a very tough election cycle, that we needed to have a team effort. So I decided to team up with Governor DeWine, or then Attorney General DeWine, now Governor DeWine, and run as Lieutenant Governor. And he's been great to me. He's given me an opportunity to work on the issues that I care most about, like economic development, workforce development, education, innovation. I've really focused on those kinds of issues, and I think Ohio's benefited from the team effort because we've moved the ball down the field a long way on our conservative agenda, even during a difficult time.
Sure. And, it has been. I don't think anybody could have anticipated the 4 years that has preceded us here in your time as Lieutenant Governor, and obviously Governor DeWine's time. And you are getting notable opposition for the primary. That's not uncommon. Republicans like to do that to each other. Sometimes it keeps everybody, moving and working and motivated. So I'm going to give you the softball question here. Why should Ohioans reelect Governor DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Husted?
Well, it's because we've kept our word. We fought the fights and we've won the fights. We've run the most conservative administration in my lifetime. We balanced budgets. We cut taxes, and 2 times, over $2 billion in tax cuts, including the capital gains tax cut, income tax cuts, and the like. It created a great business environment in Ohio. Ohio used to be one of the worst states to do business. Now we're consistently ranked in the top 10 best states in the country to do business. We're seeing the results of that by having companies move to Ohio from overseas and across the country. Just in the last 2 years alone, we've had 30 businesses leave the coasts and move to Ohio to create jobs. So right now in Ohio, we're creating jobs faster than we can find people to fill them. We have 3 times as many jobs posted on ohiomeansjobs.com as we have people on unemployment. We're moving the economy of this state forward. We've also been solid on the things that conservative Republicans value, advancing Second Amendment rights, including through issues, a number of pro-Second Amendment issues that we've passed and signed under Governor DeWine, passed the heartbeat bill to be a more pro-life state. You name it. On all of the conservative measures, we've been the most conservative administration in my lifetime. And that's what we were sent here to do. We've advanced that agenda. We have the economy of Ohio moving in the right direction, and we're just getting started. And we did all that during a pandemic. And when we get to run in green fields again, without all of those things kind of nipping at our heels, I think you're going to see great things in our second term.
Sure. And with all those successes, like I said, there's been a lot of things that happened in the last 4 years. Every candidate has their detractors, and obviously there are Republicans running against you and Governor DeWine for the race in the primary in May. This is a chance to maybe answer any criticisms, because there are criticisms out there, as you know. What are they? And or if you would want to answer, maybe clear up something that is maybe an unfair criticism that you see as not a fair detraction from all the successes that you named. What would it be that you could want to clear up right now for the voters of Ohio?
Well, one of the things that our opponents I know say is all of DeWine's COVID mandates. We don't have any COVID mandates. Ohio was one of the first states to relieve our state of those mandates. We were one of the first states to end the bonus payments for people who are on Biden's unemployment program. We have, instead of defunding the police, we've funded the police, been strong allies of law enforcement. Look, the narrative that people are trying to create just are not supported by the facts. Ohio's economy has recovered faster than most states. We have pursued a lessened regulatory agenda as compared to a lot of other states. They may be able to find 1 or 2 states that they like more, but as far as big states, Midwestern states go, Ohio's now the go-to state. We are, lower taxes, less regulation, more freedom on Second Amendment issues and business regulations. The narrative just doesn't match the facts. And I'll put up our record against any Republican administration that's ever run this state.
Okay, good. As you know, Butler County is among the most conservative counties in Ohio, and you've been around the state a lot. You know that. There's always going to be, like we talked about, detractors and comments from maybe the far right or some unfair comments, as you may have mentioned. We've talked a lot about what you've done the last 4 years, and it's been great, but what can Butler County expect from a second Jon Husted term?
I think that Butler County will continue to be able to do what Butler County thinks is in its best interest, because we're just going to continue to try to cut taxes, let the people of Butler County have more money to keep in their own pockets and make their own choices. We're going to continue to create jobs, so that I bet you'll talk to most elected officials in Butler County, and they'll say the biggest problem is finding people to fill those jobs. We're going to continue to create opportunity. We're going to continue to work with some of the great institutions like the career centers like Butler Tech and others to help students earn industry credentials and have access to the skills to have great jobs without the cost of a college loans and the high cost of a college education. Supporting our career tech efforts. You're going to continue to see growth and opportunity there. The question will be for local officials in Butler County, how do they want to handle the prosperity that's coming their way? We'll be great partners with them in doing it. And I think that you'll see the future for Butler County will be very bright.
Okay, and that kind of segues into really my final question, and I really appreciate you taking your time today to do this. But there was a recent poll in Fox News, and I've asked every candidate this, whether they're running for U.S. Senate or governor, and this is a really interesting twist, is that Fox News did a poll back in the summer that suggested that fewer voters believe that America is the best place to live, the fewest that they've ever had in all the times that they've done these polls, and they believe that more voters believe that our best days are behind us. Republicans especially believe that. So what do you think about America's future and Ohio's future? And I know you kind of mentioned that already, but how can we change that perception, and where do you see things going?
Well, look, I understand why people can be frustrated. They're frustrated with the Biden administration. They're frustrated with the fact that that they're not securing the borders, even though Governor DeWine sent our National Guard and our Highway Patrol down there to help support Governor Abbott down in Texas when he was struggling with those things, because the Biden administration hasn't done their job at the border. They have done things that have created inflation that do give people a reason for despair. But America is still the greatest country in the world because of the idea of what America is. It's about freedom. It's about opportunity. It's about individual rights, which are guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. And look, nobody's, when America has to build walls to keep people in, then we'll know we got problems, right? But we're building walls to keep people out because people still want to come to this country. Nobody, as much as they talk about China, nobody's leaving this country to move to China. China is stealing our intellectual property and trying to steal our jobs and our technology. We're gonna continue to be the dominant country in the world as long as we remember what made America great: innovation, entrepreneurship, freedom, the ability for people and states to make their own choices about how we handle complicated issues. The world's facing a lot of problems, but America is still the light in which people seek in the world for hope. Sometimes the light in this country has shined brighter than others, and we may be going through a difficult time, but in the end, because of what makes America great, the idea of America, our values, our principles, our Constitution, we will continue to thrive. However, nothing is guaranteed. That's why you got to participate in the political process. That's why you got to make your voice heard. It's why you got to get out there and vote. That's why good candidates have to run for office. That's why entrepreneurs need to continue to not get frustrated and venture forth with growing their businesses and creating jobs. Nothing's guaranteed. We've been through difficult times in our nation's history: the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, Vietnam, there have been difficult times, but there's, no one said it was going to be easy. It's tough. There's no doubt. But instead of complain about it, we need to get out there and do something about it. And that's why I continue to run for public office. And that's what we need to encourage every generation of Americans to do.
Well, thank you, John. I congratulate you on an incredible career and leadership in Ohio in public service, and for your 4 years as lieutenant governor. As a Buckeye fan, I'm very glad you didn't join Nick Saban and stayed in Ohio for us. That's been a great call for you, and we wish you the best in the upcoming election. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks to the team in Butler County. We love the great work you do. You deliver a lot of votes for Republicans in the state, and we're gonna win this election cycle for Republicans. We're going to take back the Congress. We're going to take back the Senate, and then eventually we'll get the presidency back, and it'll come right through Butler County.
Absolutely. We usually bring it for you. So thank you again, John. And that's another episode of True Spoken. We were very honored to be joined today by Lieutenant Governor Jon Husted, and we'll be having another episode very soon. Thank you.